Hey, hello. Um, it's been a few months since I finished Storm Part 2, the last installment of Tales of the Downfall. It's not available in English yet, so you can't read it, but I can tell you a little bit more about my writing process, so that's why this video. Um, and now I have to start with a new idea. The last series is complete, the story has ended, and now I have to start all over again. And I was wondering the last few months, how did I do that? It's like 8 years ago since I started the story, so this is kind of a new experience for me again. And I was really like, do I need to go out to some place to get inspiration? Do I need to read stuff? How does this work? So that's the theme of this video is the magic of writing. I was really trying to think how I did this, how this process of starting a new story worked. And I have had no idea until 2 weeks ago, and I was lying in bed. I went to bed early because I had to get up early again the next day. And of course, then it happened. All these things in my head was spinning in my head like, oh, this could happen, and maybe that's a good intro to this introduction to the story, and this should be chapter 1, and and it started buzzing in my head, and I had like, yeah, that is what the magic of writing was. Just random ideas when you're totally not ready. I had to run down the stairs and grab a pen and paper because there were no ideas coming, so I wasn't prepared. And well, I can expect my main character popping up at random times now because I'm entering that stage again. So just to let you know, I think my main character is a woman. She is from my polar people, so I know it's set on the North Pole, in the same world as all my other stories. And that's all I know. And now just see where it comes. A few weeks ago, I read Big Magic from Elizabeth Gilbert. She's also the author of Eat, Pray, Love, if I have the combination right. And this is a non-fiction book, and it is about the art of a creative life. So that spoke to me because I am trying to get I'm living a creative life. And I discovered this book by reading the books of Brené Brown about perfectionism and the other books she wrote, and which were very helpful to me as an author and as a very perfectionist. And I also once saw the TED Talk of Elizabeth Gilbert about the same, about inspiration, about Big Magic. And if I can find it, I will link it below the video for you so you can watch it also. Big Magic is about that ideas are all around us. They're almost like entities, and it's not like a creative person comes up with an idea and it's their idea and they develop it and have total control over it. No, it's like these ideas already exist and they look for the right creative person to make this idea come to life. And you kind of make a contract together, make a deal like, okay, I'll commit to you, and I'll write you down, or I'll make this artwork, or whatever you do. And it's also possible that if you say I'm going to commit my time and effort to this idea, but you don't do that, the idea abandons you. And it's like, yeah, you said you would do this, but you're not going to do this, so I'll look for somebody else. And Elizabeth Gilbert describes that she was very invested in a book about the Amazon area, and she did a lot of research, but then life became very busy, and she neglected the idea. And then when she wanted to go back to the idea was gone. And she discovered that an author she was also friends with was going to write that idea. And they never talked to each other about the plans Elizabeth Gilbert had. So that's a strange coincidence, or maybe not. And if for her it was proof that ideas can switch creative people, and just so they are sure they come to life. And it was nice to read that book, because for me I recognized a lot. I think for me it works this way as well. I always have this idea that I know where the story is going and that I have control. But after 4 stories, 3 series and a standalone, I know that's not how it works for me. I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen when I start writing. And still, everything works out in the end. The Tales of the Downfall is a series of 7 books. And I hear a lot of people say if you write series, you should plot everything. You should know where things are going, because how can you write book 1 and publish it if you don't have an idea where the story is going? Maybe the things happening in book 1 aren't necessary or aren't correct in the story. But I always found that it works out in the end. It's everything I put in a book, even if I don't know why I put it in a book, has big significance for the story. I'll give 2 examples. In book 2 of Tales of the Downfall, I think it's book 2, it could be book 3. My wizard, Nayaku, he ends up in a catacomb of the 12 gods. And I had no idea he was going to discover this place. I didn't even know it existed until that point. I didn't even know Nayaku was going to get out of Nadesh. That's the main capital of Mercia. But Nayaku, the capital, is attacked by the enemy, and Nayaku flees, and he ends up in a catacomb where the bodies of 11 gods are still lying, and the 12th tomb, that one of Jacob, is empty. And that is so important to the story. It has all the background, all the layers beneath my story, why everything's happening, why a new goddess emerges later on in the series. It's all starts in that catacomb. So it's really important, but I had no idea I had to go there. Another one is Kirill. He's my wolf skin changer and the general in the army of Mercia. He gets a compliment by another man in the first part of the Tales of the Downfall. And these two, they don't, well, apparently the one likes the other one, but Kirill doesn't like him and he doesn't trust him. And it's not even that they are very close together or they work together or something. They know each other, but not very well. So I was like, okay, I don't know why he's saying this, but it adds to the scene, so I'll put it in. And I kind of forgot about it. But it's so important for the last 3 books when things are happening between those two. And I love that I had put it in the first part, because now it is a setup throughout the whole story, and it's not like Oh, the author wanted to have that happen in book 4, so she decided to put it in, but it wasn't in anywhere in the books previous to that. So now it's grounded in the story. I like that, but I had no idea why. It's just later on in the writing, I discovered these things. For me, I'm just surrounded by darkness for a very long time. I have no idea where the story is going, and then suddenly it's like the lights are turned on, and I'm like, why didn't I understand this way earlier? It's so obvious. Why didn't I know that this was going to happen, and that this is the direction I should take? But yeah, it's almost like the story. I thought to myself often, it's almost as if the story is already there and I just have to write it down, but I don't know what I'm doing until later in the process. And that's also why Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert resonated with me, because that's the same idea. It's like the story is already there. It picked me and I only have to listen. But sometimes I'm stubborn and I think, oh, they're going that direction. And I think the idea thinks, yeah, sure, you have to explore that, but I know you're going to come back and do what I want, but okay, go ahead, do this. So that's the magic of writing. That's not that I have known this all through my writing career. I'm writing for 15 years. I'm a published author for 15 years this year. In 2008, my first book was published. And for a very long time, I was trying to do it differently. I was very insecure about my way of writing and even ashamed, I think, because I write big stories, I write series, they're all set in the same world, and what you hear a lot is that you can't write a series if you don't know where you're going. You have to have a direction, so everything in the story has a place in that bigger picture. But that's not how I work. I am very chaotic. I write chapter 13 and then 5 and then 14 and 15, and then I do the beginning and then I change chapter 13, and it's all over the place. And I'm an organic writer, so, well, you have guessed that by now, I think. And I always thought, for a very long time, I have thought that I should have been doing it differently. I should be a plotter, become a plotter. I have to use a structure like the 3 acts, or I don't know, there are many of these structures and I don't know them. It must be I must write more efficiently. I have to read more books about writing to understand the craft, and so I can do everything like it's supposed to be. I really hoped I could discover a way of making the whole writing process predictable and very logical, because that's what I like in real life. I like that I know if I take step 1, 2, and 3, this will be the end result, and if I do this happens. I like if I can predict things, but that's not how writing works for me. So that was frustrating at times. And it's also, I think, it has a lot to do with fear, the fear of, well, if I do everything according to the rules, if I have a firm grip on everything that happens, everything that I do in the story, it will be perfect and nobody can criticize what I did. That's total bullshit, of course, because there will always be people who don't like what you're doing. They won't like it because it has dragons in it. Some people won't even like it because it's epic fantasy, or because it's fantasy. So, yeah, you can't create something that everybody will like. So, yeah. But it took a while for me to really let that sink in and understand what it meant. So now here I am at the start of a new series, and as I said, I don't know a lot about it. I don't even, I think my main character will be a woman. It's somewhere on the North Pole. And at some point in the story, she won't be able to change from human to surface. It's like a mermaid, but not with a tail, but with legs. Let's describe it that way. That's everything I know. So there's a lot of uncertainty, but that's one thing that I know for sure, is that I can do this, and that there will be a story in the end, and it will be a good story, and there will be people who will enjoy this story, and I will enjoy writing it. And that's like, it feels so rich to know this already before I even started, that I can trust myself and this idea that chose me a long time ago when I started writing about Edunak, the world in my stories. I can trust that. It's going to work, and it's going to be a wonderful experience to write it. So that's amazing. It feels like I have left the fear behind and now can only be curious about what's going to happen and just explore this new story and have new adventure. I'm curious, how does this work for you? Do you think like, oh, this is nonsense, there are no ideas circling around us people and choosing us like they are entities and they want something from us? I am a writer who thinks of this genius idea and has complete control over it. Or do you like this idea? Does it resonate with you as it did with me? Did I spark something in you with this video that I haven't thought about it, but yeah, that's how it works. And I'm also curious if it's different for people who plot their stories or people who write organically. Is it like, does the one group gravitate towards, oh, ideas are circling around us, and the other group to, no, I am the owner of the idea? Well, I can already answer that last question, I think, because writing is different for everybody, so it wouldn't be very different about this subject. But please let me know in the comments, because I like to hear from you. I will put a link to the TED Talk. I would also in the description put the title of Big Magic again, so you can look that up if you want. And for now, I'm going to, just think a bit about this new idea and see where it comes. Maybe I'll write down the prologue or chapter 1 and see how that goes. And just going to enjoy a creative life. I hope you do the same. I wish you a lot of joy and creativity, and I hope to see you next time. Bye bye.